within your community, you'll see that there are different people who have different vulnerabilities, and it's really important to have that. At the same time, when you have this participant sign-in sheet, it's also a way of just gathering all this little information on how can you make sure that as you're implementing, you're sensitive with how you treat the different people you're working with. If it's a survivor of SGBV, how will you treat them? If it's a single mother, if it's a child under 18 years old, how do you tailor the content so that it's content that they can understand? It's content that will not exclude anyone. When you're looking at the ethnic minority as well, when you're talking about inclusion, have you thought about how to include the different people within your community? Is it only for your project? Are you only working with one ethnic group? How are you thinking about if it's in the camp, there are also other ethnic groups? How are you including them? If it's people who identify as persons with a disability or people who identify as the LGBTQI, how then are you creating the space for them to also participate? Next slide, please. And that is really important to ensure that you continuously have that. And then the second aspect, when it comes to the project monitoring or even the participant, it's also very important to have a document on collecting feedback. And with the feedback, it provides you the opportunity to hear back from the participant, because you don't want to just have a session where you're giving, and as a participant, I'm not able to give back, right? So this will help you to learn things that they liked. It'll help you to learn things that they didn't like. And it'll also help you to really collect information about protection and vulnerabilities. And these are things that would really help you to make sure that when you're collecting this information, you're collecting it in the right way. You're collecting it if you're trying to understand the people who participated, then you're able to look at how do they identify. And then at the same time, when you're sharing this feedback form, it's very, very important to make sure that it's anonymous and it's voluntarily. When you're asking them to give you this feedback, you're asking them to provide feedback, even if as Phony, if I want feedback, no one of course wants to hear, Phony, you are so bad, I did not like the way you did this, I hated it. No one wants to hear that feedback face to face, right? But then at the same time, these are feedbacks that would really improve the work that you're doing. If it's a program that you are offering and someone comes and say, that program that you had for the chicken, it was really great. But then I felt that you left us and you did not educate us on this particular aspect. Then that will help you to know that with the next activity you're going to do, there's an opportunity to learn and there's also an opportunity to grow as a Rilo. So it's really important that when you're collecting this feedback, you provide people that space to voluntarily give you the feedback, and at the same time for the feedback to be anonymous so that they feel 100% after I've given this feedback, tomorrow, Simon will not come and say, I saw you, I remember the feedback you gave me and the way I helped you, these are things that can happen. So it's important to do that. And then at the same time, there are also different ways to collect feedback. It doesn't necessarily have to be through this. People can be creative, This is an opportunity for you to make it very engaging. Think about if you're working with children, for instance, and you're teaching them or you're providing them mentorship opportunities, or you're providing career guidance. If you give them the form I've just talked about, they look at it, they'll not know what to write. So you have to be creative. If there are young children between, let's say, 15 to 16, sometimes writing can be very exhaustive. And also sometimes people feel, I don't want to type, I don't want to do this, I don't want to write. So people use flip charts. And when you use this flip chart, it's kind of like an evaluation. You can divide it into 3. You can divide it into a smiley face, have like a very big smiley face where someone that represents things that people liked. A sad face, kind of like representing things that people felt like there needs to be improvement. And then maybe a bulb, the way sometimes bulbs light up, it's kind of like encouraging. this needs to happen more. We should consider this more. We should do this more. So these are really important things that that you need to consider when you're implementing or when you're even monitoring your activities. I'm going to invite Simon. Simon is also part of a RILU, and I'm going to invite him to share on IAN, on peace building training, and how the feedback that they've been receiving has helped them to grow and improve as well. So Simon, I'm going to hand it over to you to reflect on your experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Fonny. So this is just like one of the importance, why it's actually very important for you to seek feedback from your participant or from the young people that you're going to be training in your project activity or who are going to be taking part. So at the African Youth Action Network, we do peace building. We started as a peace building initiative in 2015 here in Kampala. So in 2017, when we trained 100 young people in Rhino Camp Refugee Settlement through the peace building skills, like emotional intelligence, how to actually mediate, how to actually be a very good peace builder. So during one of the sessions, like as we were seeking feedback from the young people, one young person said, you know what, it is very okay for you guys at IAN to come actually give us these skills. But you are giving us the skills, they're only in our mind and they're in our hearts. But there is nothing that is keeping us busy here in the camp. So young men and young women are very redundant in the camp. Most of us actually end up going back to the refugee to the war zone in South Sudan, and also some of us go back to Congo because we don't have anything that we're doing here. So that is the feedback that actually we took from them, because they said, you know what, instead of only peace building, give us an activity that we can actually do that will keep us busy. And that gave rise to, in 2018, to us actually doing the enterprise, the IAN Sandos. So as you can see on the screen, these are young women who are actually at our center that are actually now being trained in making craft. They make African craft. So feedback is not only about the bad thing about an organization or what you're not doing bad, or people should not fear about feedback. I know when you go and implement some of these things, you might think, oh, they're seeking for feedback now, they're going to talk to Green, and then they are not going to actually support us again, or they will stop giving us the funding, or we're not going to get any funding again because of this feedback from young people. But when you take feedback as something that you can reflect on and learn on, it can be for you and your team members to actually grow. So you can actually initiate growth by actually speaking to your participant and making them part of your group. So just you can see from IAN, we have grown from just a peace building organization now to a social enterprise that is giving skills and vocational skills to young people, and actually in Juba and here in Uganda. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Simon, as well, for reflecting on your experience and sharing the most important aspect. As you can see, we've gone from the aspect of implementing, now we're getting to documenting. We've talked about the importance of planning, the importance of monitoring, the importance of managing, the importance of communicating, and now we're at the importance of documenting. Once you've done all this process, it's really, really important to also document everything. And when we're documenting not just for the purpose of reporting back to the donors, but it's also documenting for the purpose of your growth as a group, whether you're being funded by Green or you're not being funded by Green. It's always good to document. Some of the things that are important to take into account is, number one, you need to make sure that you save and store all your photos and receipts in a Google folder, online, or depending on the system that you've been using. You need to make sure that if anyone wants, or if any person comes and says, well, you've talked, we're looking for a group that is working on self-reliance, particularly on self-reliance for women, that you're able to really go back to your archives, and in case they ask you for, do you have any documentation to show the work that you've been doing, then you're able to share a list of the different photos. So this is why you need to save the photos and store them appropriately. So if you've been having projects, January, you have different activities, February, you had a different activity, March, you have a different activities, or even activities that you've been doing before, then you need to create a system that saves all these pictures. You can save according to January, February, March, April. You can save according to 2021, 2022, break it down. If you have multiple programs on self-reliance, on peace building, on climate, then you break it that way. So you make it easier for you in case anyone approaches you and says, well, we heard you're doing something on climate. Can you share something with us? Then you immediately, you don't have to struggle and think, oh my God, I have to go through many, many pictures to get something on climate. You just click on the folder, you take it, and you're able to share it. So as you're doing your implementation, it's important to take photos and videos of all these activities. You need, this will really help you, and it will also guide you. And at the same time, as you're taking all these pictures and photos, it's very important to get consent. And the sign-in sheet for the participant, that's also a way of kind of like getting people to give you consent to use their pictures or their videos. It's really important when you're participating in the community. We've all experienced displacement, and sometimes pictures can be taken out of context, or pictures might be used in a different way. So to break that cycle, it's always important, even before you do anything, you let people know. We will be taking pictures. In case you don't want your face to be seen, maybe we will organize the room in a different way so that they are aware what is happening, or even the videos. So consent is really important. And then if you do a good job with monitoring, it's really easy as well to submit your reports, because all these steps, what we have highlighted, they kind of like take you step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It gives you the bigger picture. So when it's time for reporting or sharing your report, you don't have to start thinking, oh my God, I have not been monitoring anything. How do I report back? I have not been documenting anything. I've not kept any receipt. If there was any invoices, I have not been doing this. So this is really important that you're able to put all this together so that it's easier for you when it comes to the reporting aspect. Then it's just 1, 2, 3, and you're able to report back sufficiently. For the RILOs that are going to be receiving funding from Green, we have set up Google folders for you where you can store all this key documentation. These are receipts, your photos, and also these worksheets that we have just been talking about. So we're trying to make sure that you're able to store all your information in one place, and then you're able to use it effectively, especially when it comes to the reporting time. Then you're able to do it very fast. We're getting to that point where you can ask questions, so please bear with us. We'll make sure you have sufficient time. Next slide, please. So we've talked about quite a lot of things when it comes to all these different aspects on assessment. We've recapped on assessment, we've recapped on project design, and we've also looked through implementation. What are some of the activities that are really important? After step 1, step 2, step 3, the next big step is reporting back. And maybe one quick question, if you can raise your hand, I'll take 2 to 3 responses. Why do you think reporting is important? If you can raise your hand, I'll take the first 3 hands that I see raised using the reaction. I see Ellie. Ellie has raised. Ellie, kindly unmute, and in a minute, do let us know, why do you think reporting is important? And then I'll have BNF next. Ellie, kindly unmute.
I think reporting is important as it ensures accountability, as in one would ensure that the report stays in line and ensure that the money is used accountably. And reporting also gives a sense of induces a sense of responsibility within the team, as we know that everything we are doing would need to be written down and sent or read by someone else. It induces a sense of responsibility with team members.
Thank you so much. Accountability, great perspective. The rest, you can also share your thoughts in the chat. Bienal, you want to go ahead and share your thoughts?
Yes, Foni. Mine have been already raised by my friends, my colleagues.
Okay.
According to me, report it helps to really understand how the activities is going, to get an easier way. It's an easier way to understand the evaluation of those activities.
Great. Thank you for that as
That's all
well.
for my side. Yeah.
Great. I'm going to take one more from Beta, and then the rest of the team, we can still share it in the chat. Beta, do you want to also share in a minute?
Yes, I also want to share why reporting is very important. One aspect is it helps us in to refer us back on how the project went. Like if there are going to be some other projects in future, it helps us to learn from the previous projects. So when we report some of the project activities, that it will help us to actually look into the future.
Great.
Uh,
Great. Thank you as well for sharing those reflections. Accountability, planning better for the future, learning. Those are really important aspects. Reporting is important as well, because then it also gives us that opportunity to celebrate the work, as you're working, you're doing quite a lot of things. And once you sit down and you look at what you've been able to do, then it gives you that opportunity to celebrate, to be happy, to acknowledge the work that you have done. The second thing, accountability and transparency. As you know, we're all working in the community, and it's really important to be very transparent and accountable. If I give you 100 shillings, how are you going to use $100 or 100 Kenyan shillings? How will you use this so that I know that for the next time last time I gave you 100, so I'm able to see the growth. I'm able to see how you've been able to maximize that amount. So it also provides transparency, because then the community is able to know they said they were going to do this and they did exactly that. So that's also something important. And then the learning also really, because it helps you to grow. The same way with this particular project that the call for proposal we ran, through the reports that you will be submitting, it will help us to learn from the experience, because this is the first time we're trying to fund groups. So as we collect, with every single step, we're learning. With the reports that you share, we're also learning. So what does it mean? How will you be reporting for the people who are funding, or the people that Green is funding? The first thing that groups will be requested to do is financial reporting. Financial reporting is very, very important. This is a major, it's one of the most important aspects, because if we have given a group $500, breaking it down, just as I have mentioned, if you said you were going to use $500 for your project, then you're able to come back and say, this was the cost of, this is what we did, this is what we said we were going to do, this is what we have done, and this is why we've done it this way. It gives you, this will really be important. And for this, for the financial reporting, receipts will be needed, photos of receipt, or any other documentation that shows the expense that you have been working on. Next slide. The second aspect of this that will also really be important is on the program and results reporting as well. Before that, go back. Could you go back, please? It's also really important as you report back to ensure that, especially for the financial aspect, you'll realize that the way we're going about this is that we have the currency, we have the local currency as well as the US dollars. Why we've put this in this particular financial report is because we're working with many groups from different parts of the world. And if I was to try and understand how much Ugandan shillings, Kenyan shillings, the Egyptian pounds, the South Sudanese pounds, if I was to try to understand that, it will be very hard for the people who are working on the finances to also understand what that means. So we've also provided you with the currency converter link. And if you'll see that every single day it has different rates. You've used this when you were writing your proposals for groups that are submitted proposals. So it's also really important to make sure that you use this to ensure that if you've included the local currency, you also include the US dollar, so that people can understand if it's 50,000 Ugandan shillings in dollars, this is what it is. So it makes it easier for us to also understand what you're reporting on. And then for the groups that have been funded, groups that will be receiving funds, one of the things that is also really important is to ensure that you submit your reports on time. Yeah. These are really important because you will be sharing quite a lot of information with us, but it's also very important to ensure that you submit it on time. Laura is, as I'm speaking and talking about the financial report document, all the documents that we have talked about, Laura is putting it in the chat, and we will also share this with groups that will be funding. So going back to what I was saying, it's really important that you submit your reports on time. So for this particular, for the groups that are being funded, there are 2 reports that you will be requested to submit. The first report, this is the interim report. This is the report that you've just started. Most of you have already started, and some of you have not yet started. That is still fine. We're working on it to make sure that all the groups that have not yet started will be able to start on time. So the interim report is due on 31st of March. So it's very important, once you receive that notification, that you're able to make sure that by 31st of March, you've already submitted your report. Why is it that important? Because without the interim report, we will not be able to make the next transfer. So with the first report, we're able to look at it, and in case there's anything that we need to follow up on, we're able to follow up on it as soon as possible. So the interim report is due on 31st of March. And for the groups, we will also communicate this, and we'll also share reminders. For the other groups who are not necessarily being funded, these are things that you need to really take into consideration. The deadlines or the timelines that different donors will put. If they've told you the report is due by this time, please do that, so that it also gives them the grace period to work through it and ask you any questions if needed. The final report, which is the report that you will be submitting at the end of at the end of this particular project, it's due on 31st of May. And for this particular report, you'll see that it's kind of like you're bringing everything to a wrap. So you're kind of like sharing what you did, the things you learned. It's really the final report that you are accounting for everything that you have done. And you will the other thing for the reporting as well, we'll make sure that we are able to share all the different details. And in case you have questions, in case you need clarifications, then you would be able to ask us, and we would be able to follow up. Simon, myself, Ibrahim, Farida, Laura, and Kate are here to really work with you on this, so you can improve how you report. Laura, next. It's this one. So for the reporting, you'll see that the way we're going to be reporting, we're going to be using Google Forms. And it's really important to understand this. The way the form has been designed, it's been designed to ensure that everything that you're going to report is put in one place, and it's very easy for you. We don't want people to struggle and start thinking, okay, I have this and I have this and I have that. No. So you'll find that with the Google form, it's just a link to the form, and you can open it, look through it, and with the interim report, you will use it. It will ask you your email. The project managers, this is something that you will really need to make sure you're timely on. As you've seen, your role is to make sure that you coordinate the activities, you inform everyone. So after you've decided the different roles everyone is playing within the team, then this is kind of like a culmination where you bring everyone, and then the project manager works through it with the team. You share the details of the group names, the basic, because we do have a lot of reports we're collecting. So you also have to make sure that you name it appropriately. You share the name of your group, you share the name of the project manager, summary of the activities. And as you look through the form itself, you'll see it has quite a lot of components. It has components to do with the activities that you're doing next. And it also has components to do with information about the project. So information about the project, where you'll get to share photos. If you're reporting, you can upload the pictures there. You can upload 10 pictures that you want to share. if you have the pictures, you can share overview of the participants because you already have the other documents that you have been using. So if you're coming to report here, then you know that from the previous engagement, because you have the participant sheet, you know that we had women who were under 18, we had women who are over 18 or women over 30. Then it's easy for you to just click, and you're able to take that into account. And then it also helps you to kind of like go back. This is how it all comes together. We've talked about the monitoring of the participants. We've talked about the finances. We've talked about a lot of aspects that you need to consider. So once you have the feedback form as well, you're able to come here and see, yes, with that particular activity, we had LGBTQI people who participated. We had the ethnic minority people who also participated. Next, please. So it helps you to look through all that. And then you'll also see that when you're it also helps you to just quickly submit your financial report. We've talked about the templates that you will be using. All of this, you can easily just upload it into this particular Google form, and it makes it easier. You don't have to worry about, okay, we had that financial report, and then there was this other one for activity 2, and then there was this other one for activity 3. So with this particular Google form, what it will allow you to do, it will be easier for you to just upload any of the receipts that you might have, any of the documents that are really necessary. You can easily upload it here. So it makes the process much more easier for you. It makes it less complicated, and it makes it also orderly. Because what we're also trying to ensure that we, at the end of this particular engagement, is that as young refugees who are leading activities, you're able to become very independent, that you can repurpose some of these documents for your day-to-day activity. It doesn't just have to be because of the funding. It can also be because of you're preparing for the next big thing. The next big thing can be you applying for $10,000 US, 50,000. But for you to get there, you have to really work through these little things that then shows everyone you have the capacity to manage funds. You have the capacity to account for funds. You have the capacity to take into consideration all the different needs that within the community, that your lens is very wide. You're able to see everyone in the community and engage with them. So these are some of the things that, this is one of the forms that you will be using to report. And we will, if in case it's not clear, we still have opportunity to have more engagement, and we can support as needed. And the link has been shared in the chat as well, because then it's really, I think this report will help you. And in case there's anything different than what you had planned as well, it's also a point to justify, because for instance, if I said, I'm going to buy 10 balls and it will cost me $50, and then I end up buying 30 balls and it costs me $350. That's an example. When you're reporting back, as you're sharing this, there's a segment that will also ask you, was there any other thing that you, like it basically asks, would you describe in terms of the funding, did you use it appropriately? Is the expenditure, was it different from what you had said? So it helps you and gives you the opportunity to be frank. And say, we had budgeted for 50 balls, but then we ended up getting 100 balls. And why we got 100 balls was because by the time we were implementing, the number of participants increased. So it helps you to really be honest and transparent. And it's okay to do that. It happens as you're implementing, things will happen. You may underspend or you might overspend. So it's really important as you do that, then you tell us, this is why we did this way as opposed to doing it this way. So the transparency aspect and the consistency and how you report back is what takes you to the next level. And then at the same time, as you mentioned, it's just a good process that will build your culture, that will help you, that will lead to a lot of development, not only for you, but also for the rest of your team members, because then it provides you that space for everyone to engage, for everyone to participate, and for everyone to learn. And that's what we're trying to do. That it's not only the project manager who's learning, but you're learning along with the rest of your team members. And with that, I know we've spoken a lot. We've shared a lot of content. I'm going to hand it over to Simon, who is going to take us through a session of question and answer. And hopefully we can answer all the questions you have or follow-ups that you might have regarding what we've been able to share. Simon, over to you.
Thank you so much, Fonny. And thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time for actually attending up to the end. You have been very, very engaging. So it's now time for you to actually put up your hand if you have a question. There are some questions that we might not answer all of them. We might not answer all of them today, but we'll actually keep on following up. Just like we said before, we'll follow up with you individually, with you as a group. But if you have a question on project implementation, what we have discussed today, or anything that is concerning the project and the support we're giving you, please put up your hand, and then you can unmute and then tell us. Yes, John Weck, with Focus Agency.
Well, thank you so much, Simon, and all the Green team. I really appreciate the workshop of today is really very great and understandable. So yeah, I really enjoyed from here, and as I was learning from you. So I just want to ask, is it okay, to share, the information on your WhatsApp? Like last week, we actually launched our projects on the 1st of February, this month. And I was thinking, should I, post some of the, of the photos on your WhatsApp group to see what we're doing. So, but I just want to know whether that is the right way to do it or not. So yeah, that's what I have, and thank you so much.
Thank you. That is noted. The second person is Eli Salak. Please unmute and ask your question. Eli. Sorry, we can't hear you, Eli. Okay, we'll come back to you later. I think you're having some technical problem with your device. Bartholomew Mwanza, please unmute and ask the question.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Simon. Before maybe asking my question, first of all, I would like to apologize for our colleagues in Tomogara Refugee Camp for the Refugee Child Coalition for Climate Action. They are facing a network problem. I hope I will be able to share with us the link of the recordings. Yeah, so we had, at least I know you had many presentations, and in those presentations we had also many questions, but we'll try at least to just take a few to accommodate everyone. So my first question, as you may know, in the camps, we have some shops, which are being run by refugees themselves, and unfortunately, there are no receipts. Yeah, there are no receipts. So I don't know, in that case, what can these people do, maybe to take picture and send to you? And then the second question, I know you have shared, I think Funi shared a certain page where you can see the rates, how it's going. But for example, here in Zimbabwe, there's an official rate that you can see on the internet, but in the meantime, there's also the black markets when you come on the ground. So sometimes you can check on the official rate with what is on the ground. It may be, something different. And the last question is about the pictures. Yeah, so what about maybe when you are dealing with children who are under 18? Yeah, so how can you do about it? Do you have to consult their parents for them to sign the consent form? So these are my three questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bartholomew. Also, Rebecca.
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Yesile Rebecca from Kriandong Refugee Settlement Camp based in Uganda. So my question is about on the report. I wanted to ask that is the report going to be based on questions and answers, or we are going to compile a report where we are going to put the budget and everything about the project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. And then we have Shosho. Please unmute and ask the question. Shosho. Maybe you're having like difficulties. We shall come back to you. Bienvenue from Kalubei. Please unmute and ask your question. I think you're also having difficulties. Vita Emmanuel Gulen.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, my name is Peter Emmanuel Bulen from Rainukam, Uganda. For Ambassadors of Christ for Peace and Development. My question is based on a statement that there was a training that was conducted on project assessment and project design. And to the best of my knowledge, this is now the second training on the project implementation and reporting. Now, for some of the members who did not attend the first training on project assessment and the project design, how are we going to cope up with maybe some of the notes or some of the lesson, because this is the second training. Thank you.
Ayuk Peter Kings, Ayuk. Peter, we're not hear you well.
So I'm also the president and founder of Help the Less Privileged Association, where we focus on livelihood and skills acquisition. So my focus will be on livelihood, because actually it is very, very, very important, because through livelihood, refugees can have the opportunity to maybe sponsor themselves when it comes to education, and also to be self-reliant and many other things. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And I also want to ask, since this project, the implementation of this project will begin this February, so I want to ask when the link will be sent, so that we can register on time, so that we can meet up with the deadline for the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You can also keep on. You can keep asking the question on the chat, like what Matai has actually done. Matai is asking on the second round of funding for projects that are already running, is scheduled for 31st. Conditional on the interim report being received. Can this be earlier, assuming such a report is received before the 31st, which is the deadline? So thank you so much for all these questions. Okay, we have a new and Choncho. We're going to unmute you. We're going to support you unmute. A minute. Choncho. So Long Maker, are you able to unmute?
Yes, Mr. Simon, I'm bienvenue. Now to give me an access to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Mr. Simon. I would like also to contribute about the question. For my side, I do have just a few questions about submitting those report forms. I would like to ask if, like for our side, we have been doing some activity without any fund organization. So for my side is like, are we going to get an opportunity to share with you out of the project that we are going to implement with that fund we'll be supporting with the green team? Should we also upload some of the reports, the activities that we have been working on? Or is just only the form will be submitted by those projects that we are going to support with the green team? That is one of my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Chocho? Are you able to unmute?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Okay, so yeah, Chocho from the Voices community. So I'm asking, in the process of implementing, like here in Kenya, do we have a contact person whom we can reach for clarification or in any case of anything? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Long Maker, Long. Are you able to unmute? Okay, Ellie Insala from Refugee Child Coalition.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. I just have 2 questions here. The first one is on the interim report, and that the deadline is on the 31st. So is it possible that if the first phase is done, someone might submit a report before the 31st? And the second question is on the Ms. Bonnie mentioned something on being able to support RILOs during the course of implementation of their project. So my question would be, what other form of support can we as RILOs expect from Green?
Okay, thank you. So we have one more person so that we can respond to these questions. Long Maker, are you able to unmute so that we take your question and we answer the question that we have received so far? Okay, maybe we'll answer these questions and then we can get to the other 2 colleagues who have actually put out their hands later on. So the first question is on receipts, where there are shops in the refugee camps that are run by refugees and they don't have receipts themselves. Fonny, can you come in?
I think there are many ways we could do that. In case this is the situation in the location that you're based, receipts, of course, provide evidence on what you've been able to do, on what the work that how you've been able to spend the money. And one particular perspective that we could do, we could find a way, this is something that we could discuss with the green team, to either design something where the groups that are in locations where there are no receipts, where the different people would sign, but then this is subject to confirmation. We need to be clear on how that would work, so that we don't end up just having people sharing documents that have been signed, but then we can't verify that. So in case within the location that you're in, there are places where you could purchase, use it, and they could give you a receipt, then we would encourage that. If that is not possible completely, then we would advise further on how to go about it.
Thank you. So we'll get back to you with a solution. There's also like a second suggestion where as a team you can actually develop some small receipt form, like a receipt book with a form, also like a contract that you can actually give the owners of the spaces and then the owners of the shop to actually put down how much actually you're buying from them and how much you as a team. On the black market rate and what is on ground being different. Being different from what is actually presented on the ground. Yeah, it is possible. There are countries where we have a lot of fluctuation on daily basis. That's why we advise you, and that's why actually Fonny said you have to report on the daily rates that you're going to be using in the market. So how much is it that you are going to actually how much is it that the rate on that base day when you exchange the money? So you share with us that rate that you have used, which is the black market rate, and which is official, which is online, so that we can actually be able to verify and actually account from our side and monitor the financial spending. On the children under 18 years, you have to get consent from their parents. If someone who is below the age of 18 is actually taking part in your training and you're going to be taking their pictures or their videos, their parents should actually be able to actually consent. We're also going to be sharing with you a link, a template that you can use, the consent form for videos, and then the pictures that you're also going to be used. So those consent form will also include the one for the minors, those who are below the age of 18, who are going to be in your project activities. Rebecca, the report that we're going to be using, we're going to send you the template of the report. It has all the details, what you need to actually include on the finance, just like what Fonny just presented right now. So it has questions, it has where you will describe for us your activities, the challenges you have faced in your community, and then how you actually spend. It also has spaces where you actually upload your pictures, the videos that you're actually taking during the project implementation. So we're not going to be expecting like maybe a 30 pages report, which is a different format. So for us to have all the uniform, for us to actually learn, Laura is going to share with you each and every organization, just like Fonia said, has got your own folder where you will be reporting on, putting all your details on. Bita Emmanuel, yes, the links for the first training, the first mini workshops are going to be shared. Laura is also going to be sharing with you, and you can actually reach out to us. Laura has just shared the link here for the links to the recordings. I mean, the recording in our first workshop, that you can actually get the details of what happened, what transpired during the project assessment, the design workshop, which was done last year in August. So the links are there. If you don't get them today, you can always reach out to us, and we can be sharing with you and your team to actually have this recording presented to you. We have a need from Kalobe. You said, can we report on activities that you already videos, the pictures that are activities that are not actually part of the funding project? Fonny, can you come in?
So I know that we all have different projects or activities that we have been doing even before the funding opportunity as such. So I don't think you need to, it's not a requirement to share that work with us. Because we will be having what we're also planning to do in regards to creating more space for you to be able to share other works that you've been doing is that we will be having spots where we can invite different young people to feature and talk about the different works that they have been doing, not only the work that Green is funding. If you're reporting, if you're sharing your report at this particular moment, you only need to report on the activities or the activities in consideration to the funding that you have received. So if you had said you were going to do A, B, C, D, you only need to report back on that. And in case you fail, you really want to share on other activities you're doing within your community, then Laura is our communications person. You can also let Laura know as group A, B, C, D. We also want to share this with you on things that we are doing or have been doing even before the engagement with Green. Because one of our aims is to also really ensure that we are able to create a platform for young people to share not only on the activities where we are funding, but also on activities that they have been doing and they're still doing, so that other people can also know that in this location, there's this group, and this is the challenge they're facing, and this is the solution that they're leading. So it's not really a big requirement for now. Yeah. Simon? Yeah. Yes, another question?
Yes, the other activities actually that you actually implementing, you can share them on the social media, tag Green, so that we actually in the know and actually support you with the amplifying your voices. The activity that you are doing, we can actually share and retweet on our pages. So it's important that you can actually share with us the reports of the activity that are being supported by Green. Choncho from Voices of Community, do we have a contact person? So all the Green members are going to be contact persons for this project. So you can reach us, as like we said before, via our social media pages, using WhatsApp, on the emails that we have actually used and share with you. Reach out to all of us anytime you have a challenge or you have anything that you need to get clarification on. We will all be on the standby as team members to actually call and actually reply to you.
Simon, can I add something to that? We also have the WhatsApp group. I know this is for just informal communication. So in case you also want a quick response, you can reach out via that. But then if it's specific requests to the different groups that you're part of, as Simon has said, you can reach out to us, but then you can also use the Refugee Youth Project email, because then that makes it, we're able to know that you're communicating on something of high importance. So if it's really urgent and you need attention, then you can reach out directly to the different contact members, but you can also use the emails as well.
Yes, Matai. Yes, I think Kate has responded in the chat here. So for those who actually complete the activities earlier than the interim time for our interim report, which is the 31st of March, you can share earlier, because it also helps us prepare so that your second batch of the grant is actually sent. So you can submit it before or earlier than the 31st of March. Thank you.
Coming back in, I know there's also another question that was asked. Is there any other form of support available apart from the groups that are being funded? So as I've mentioned, with Green, it's also really important to ensure that we're not just providing funds and leaving groups that have not been funded or groups that have been funded to just kind of like leave them out. So what we're doing, as you've realized, within the Green team, we have Farida, we have Simon, we have Ibrahim, there, and there's Kate, and there's Laura. And all of us have different sort of expertise. So this is something that your groups can also benefit from. If it's time requests and not requests that are very outrageous, we could find ways to support in terms of if you want advice on communication aspects, on things, on how you can work around your social media. Laura is there. She's a very good communications person. If you want advice on advocacy and networking, we have Ibrahim and Simon as well, who are also quite good with that. If you want advice on gender and diversity, how do you work around that? How do you include people? Farida is also really good. If you're also doing implementation in terms of poultry or or rabbits or those things, Farida has done that before. So it's also an opportunity for you to have another conversation with her to see how that is working. So we've created a space where we can interact. You can ask questions. And then the other thing that we'll also be doing, in case there are other resources that can really improve how you work, these are documents or even meetings or just any other opportunity that will really strengthen your capacity, then we can also, we also would share this with you all for groups that are being funded or groups that are not being funded. We're making it intentional to create a structure where everyone, if you're funded or not funded, that you're still able to also benefit from the other resources that might be available to us. I'm looking through the list of questions. Simon, go ahead as I give.
Peter King asked a question on livelihood. I did not get it on my end, so I'm not sure whether you captured it or we should let him repeat.
I think I dropped off. Do you either write it in the chat again as I maybe take this other question? Can I go ahead, Simon?
Yes, sure.
Yes, there was also a question, I think already answered and said we're going to share the link to the previous trainings and all that. So in case there are also groups that might have questions in regards to what is available in the videos and you'd want further conversation around just to understand it, definitely you can reach out. You can let us know that as a group or depending on the groups that would really want to watch the video and then have a question and answer session, we can plan that. So if this is something that groups feel they really want to also understand, definitely. But you can also just send a formal request so that we can take it into consideration and put it into our work plan. So we give you the best for that particular session.
There is a question on the chat about whether we take receipts in terms of PDF or pictures. I think this will depend on where you're actually taking, sending us the receipt from. Like in the refugee settlement, where it is very hard to actually get computers and scanners, we will just ask you to actually take a picture of the receipt that you've actually taken and send it to us. If you can actually access a computer center where you can scan, and it is not very expensive for you to actually scan some of these things, you can send for us a PDF of the scanned copy of your receipts. So it really depends on where you're reporting from and whether you have an availability of the means to send us the copy that you have, either in a PDF format or in a photo. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you. And then I think there was also a question around the reporting. Is it going to be based on the Q&A or a final report where people can compile everything and submit? What we're trying to do, we're trying to make this process as simple as possible for the different groups. I know there are groups who would want to have like that single report where they have everything. You're happy to do that, to work on that and share with us if you want to. But then for this particular reporting, for this round of funding that we've given, we're really looking at the at using the forms, because then it's easier to collect all the different reports, have it in one place and easily to follow up. But in case your group feels you'd want to work on your own individual report and maybe share with us, but that's not a requirement, you can still do the same for the purpose of your organization and for the purpose of maybe later on sharing with other potential donors. So that's fine. You're not restricted. What we're just asking you to do is work focusing on the templates that we've shared with you. I don't know, Simon, do you have any other further response on that? Simon, I think you're on mute.
So I think you have captured everything. The report that the template that we're going to be sharing with you has got all the provision, like for the finances you have spent, where you put the pictures, the videos, the links, for some of the videos that you're going to actually take during the training. So the report template that we're going to be sharing with you has got all these parts where you can tell us the challenge that you are facing, what the lesson that you have learned, what the activity is, where you can actually describe. So it has those questions. You may not need actually to have 30, 50 pages report that you will be sending out to us at the end of the project implementation.
Thank you for that. And then also at the same time, Simon has shared that we will include all the relevant documents for groups that are being funded. You'll receive a link with all the relevant documents. So when you're filling this out, if you have the capacity to, we ask you to fill them online if there's anything that you're filling, because it's easier to also keep track of. In case you're not able to fill it online, we ask you to download it and pay attention to the details. Make sure when you're sending it back, don't send it as a PDF, especially for the reports, so that we can also, in case there's any changes, we can follow up, or we can even comment and send back to you for corrections. So that's just a quick reminder I had for everyone. And then in terms of the question that Bart has shared, to make project official, can a group inform stakeholders such as the Department of Social Welfare before the implementation? That's fine. I think different groups have different ways that they have been operating. If these are really important stakeholders within your community and they really need to know before you implement, then I'd advise all of you to do that so that you don't experience any group facing challenges because they had not previously mentioned. So it's also really important for you as a group to inform all the relevant people of what you will be doing. And if you've been doing it, just make sure that they're in the know so that you don't end up facing any challenges when you're doing your implementation. And then for the question on dealing with children, I think we have shared that consent forms are important. And one way we can work around this, we have the participants signing in sheet. And as I mentioned, this can actually be, we can include that aspect there so that when you're dealing with children under 18, that they're able to really also, their parents are able to sign and say, yes, they have agreed to let their children participate so that you're also safe, because that's an important aspect. And then if you don't have any code of conduct, I think there was a question around code of conduct. I can't remember who asked this particular question in the chat. If you don't have any code of conduct, yes, how should we come up with a code of conduct of CBOs? Like we said earlier, some of the CBOs are young, and can we share one and make necessary adjustments? So one thing is that for the project managers, when they were signing the contracts, we did say that you would abide by the code of conduct from WRC. But in case there are teams that also want to have their own code of conduct, definitely we can support and we can guide you through how you can make, as since the different groups are young and growing, we can work with you to just ensure that you also have that in place for future opportunities. I think I have answered all of the questions, Simon. Back to you. I don't know if
just support to the answers on reaching out to administrators in the camps. Yes, I think we communicated before, we shared before in terms of communication. So you need to know like who are the stakeholders in your project. Who do you want to communicate? How do you want to communicate with them? When do you want to communicate with them? So if it is very important, maybe there is a stakeholder in the camp, like the camp administrator, and you feel that they are really very important. They are the one who are going to be giving you maybe land for your center to be built. They're going to be giving you land for your trees to actually grow. I think it's very important for you to actually communicate with them because they may also have necessary support for you to grow as a team. So as a team, go and sit down, try to actually break down and see in terms of communication, who do you want to communicate? How do you want to communicate to them? When do you want to communicate? So you will be able to identify the stakeholders that are very important in all the levels, all the time you're actually implementing the project. Thank you. Are there any other questions that have not been answered? I think Peter Ayukin, your question on livelihood, we did not really get it very well.
Okay. Thanks again once more for giving me this opportunity to speak again. So I want to ask, when are they sending the link that we can register our various associations to participate in this project funding, like it was done last time? The link for registration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have Bita, your hand is still up, and then we have Veni from Kalobey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Simon, again for this opportunity. My question is going direct to Tony because she's the one who living in Kenya. Last time to register our association, we were facing a lot of challenge by accessing those official certificates. There is an issue of KRP of that certificate, plus that's another one of the code conduct. I would like just to ask if Green Team can help us in that journey by guiding those steps, or can bring a good link with us to get those the in charge, or an NGO, those who are really in charge of those process. Because for our side, we have been dealing with there's a RAS, we have been negotiating with those things, and up to now we are still in that process. We don't under a good step on that. So my question is still that, so that is it the Green Team can just bring a good line and show us a good way on doing all those things, or we are still limited with on some activities? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I think one way to maybe deal with some of these challenges that you are facing as a team is for you to also maybe write it. You write to us as Green, the challenges you are facing in terms of registration. Is it that you are finding it hard to reach out to the people who are in charge of registering CVOs and NGOs in your community? Is it that you are finding it hard? Okay, you don't have information about where the registration is done, what it will take you, or processes. So if you can put all the details and send them to us, we can maybe assign one person who might have the knowledge, like our colleagues who are based in where you're staying in, to also follow up and see how we can be supported as a group. There's a question Peter Ayuk is asking about links for registration for groups or support. I'll pass that to Bonnie.
Yes, just to add on the second question on registration, I think one thing that Green is trying to do, of course, is do a lot of advocacy and connect with other organizations locally who are doing something around that line. So as Simon has mentioned, if there are challenges, especially even let's say with banking or with receiving of funding, what we ask teams to do, or project managers or groups to do, is provide us with details as much as possible so that we are clear on this location, in this place, if it's access to funding or to the banks, this is the problem. It's a problem because people went, these are some of the, like you break it down and share as much as possible information. So when we're following up, then we know what we're following up on with the different people that we can connect with. In regards to Green stepping in, I think the best way we can step in, first of all, is if we have that information, then we can try and connect to other organizations that are locally, because that's also something that is very important. As Green, we're trying to change how things work, and we might not have access to the big offices, but at the same time, we might have access to people who are working on the same things. So definitely, just if you encounter any challenge, please, we're begging, share via email and provide as much as possible details so we can know how to pick up on it and work through it. In regards to the link for registration, this the first call for proposal was our pilot, and we're hoping to do a second call for proposal. We're not yet sure when this would happen, but it would happen this year. Once this is out, groups will be notified, we will publicize it, and then groups would be able to register. So for now, we still don't have the link, or we've not shared the second call for proposal. Once this is out, you will find all this information on our social media pages, as well as on our website, which we're soon launching. So this is where you can get all this information after we've launched it. I see there's another hand raised. Lual, do you want to go ahead and share? And then if there's any other question, we kindly ask you. Also, because of time, we don't want to take up much of your time. If there's any other question, kindly just type it in the chat, or you can also send us direct messages and we can try and respond to it. Lual, go ahead. Lual, if you're speaking, you're still on mute. Could you kindly unmute? Have you tried clicking on the unmute button so that Laura can get a request?
I'm sending him the option to unmute, but he needs to accept it.
Lal, could you try now?
Or maybe, Lual, you can also reach us via the WhatsApp, or you can actually send an email to us at Green, and then we can respond to the question. I think we need to wrap up now because we have been on for the last 2 hours. Now it's 2 hours and 30 minutes. Thank you so much for taking the time to actually listen, to actually participate actively in the chat, asking the questions, and making this this workshop really engaging. So we look forward to continue working with you. We look forward to actually hearing about the amazing work that you're going to be doing as you're implementing your project and the ideas you're putting them to work in your own community right now. So let's keep in touch. You have all our social media handles, the WhatsApp, the Instagram, Facebook, and the Twitter account for Green. You have you have our WhatsApp. So you have the WhatsApp group for all the projects that we're working with. So you can send us a question there. Send us maybe something that is really exciting about your project. Maybe it's a learning, it's something that you are seeing on the ground as you're implementing your project, so that we can all be in the know and actually get to know what is happening there. So once more, from me to you all, thank you so much for taking the time and for being here with us. Fonny, if you have anything to add, and then you can end the call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lual, I think you were sent the request to unmute. That's why you need to accept it, but no worries. So from me, I really want to say thank you for being here, for participating, and for the great work that you've been doing. For groups, we're using WhatsApp for groups that are already implementing. In the email that I shared with you all, for groups that are going to be receiving funding at different intervals, there is a link to join the WhatsApp group. You need to click on that, and that will automatically allow you to join the WhatsApp group. In case that's not possible, I'll also be able to add all of you to the group. I think I have the numbers for all the project managers, and we have been in contact with most of you. So you can also send me a request in case I've not added you by tomorrow. So really thank you. Let's keep on having this conversation. In case you have questions, please do feel free to reach out to us, ask clarification. We're on 24/7, but please also keep mind of the time limits and boundaries. But other than that, really want to say it's been a great session having you all here. Have a good rest of your evening or your day based on where you're joining us from. And we shall be in touch with you all for the next steps. So from us, thank you very much, and do have a good rest of your day.